I'm here today with one of the hardest working real estate agents in Greensboro and a great friend of mine, Todd Turner with All About You Realty.
Hey, RJ, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Here's the deal. We've worked together for a lot of years, and I think one of the things that I really appreciate most about you is that you spend a lot of time educating buyers and sellers and really walking them through that process. So let's start there with basements and crawl spaces. Now, what would be, say, a red flag to you walking into a basement or crawl space?
Those range from potential moisture infiltration in the crawl space, as well as termite tubes potentially for wood destroying insects that may be in the space, as well as fungal growth on the floor joists.
Let's talk though about cracks in the foundation, and that freaks everybody out. Let me ask you this: is there a way that you can kind of say, okay, this is just a minor settlement crack versus, okay, this has got something structural happening, or we've got a foundation issue?
Yeah, typically a good rule of thumb for identifying the difference between these two types of cracks is if the crack follows the mortar line around the bricks, whether that's a brick foundation or cinder block, then that's typically going to be in that category of standard settlement. But if you see the crack continues vertically through the brick itself, then that is kind of an indicator that we might have some outward pressure on the foundational walls and creating some bigger issues potentially.
I guarantee you there's a lot of people that actually don't realize that.
Yeah.
All cracks are not created equal. All right, let's move on to attics. And I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is everybody's honed in on energy efficiency. And they want, lower utility bills and all the things. So tell me what you're looking for when you are checking out an attic with a buyer or even a homeowner. What are you looking for to determine, okay, this is an energy efficient property or we've got work to do?
One of the quickest things that I can see during a showing in particular is the amount of insulation that you can typically see from the attic. So oftentimes most of these houses are insulated in the attic with blow-in insulation, and it needs to be a certain depth in order to be working at its most efficient level. So, but what you will find is when you're in these spaces is that the blow-in insulation is actually compressed and oiled down in a, say, 4-inch depth. But you would want that to be a minimum of 12 up to 18 or 20 inches deep.
I would say that that's another part that most people are not going to know.
Right.
Exactly the depth that it should be to have the major impact on the energy.
Right. And that's why you'll often see in attics, you'll see a ruler when they do the insulation that's going down one of the pieces of framing in the attic. And it will indicate whether or not, where the level is sitting at that point.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the roof. But we're still in the attic here. But are there things that you can look for in an attic to kind of indicate, okay, there's been roof damage or this could potentially cause some damage?
Absolutely. I mean, in my opinion, it is very easy to recognize either current or previous water infiltration from the roof simply by looking up, because anything that made it through the shingles is going to show itself when it hits dry lump. You can see evidence of previous damage or even potentially a current issue and be able to negotiate that while under contract, obviously, when you're buying a house.
Okay, let's hit on mold, because that is that's a really bad word in the real estate industry. Okay, so I think you associate mold more with basement crawl space, but the attic can play into that as well, obviously with the ventilation. So walk us through that and kind of what to look for.
Sure. So mold actually grows most effectively when you have still air, darkness, and moisture.
Okay.
So if we have a leak in the roof and we have improper ventilation within our attic, and obviously not a lot of sunlight effect in this equation, you have the perfect recipe for mold growth.
Wow.
So simply by being more knowledgeable and aware of the ventilation systems that you have in your attic, whether that's a ridge vent or an attic vent or a soffit vent, you can prevent the growth of mold with that proper ventilation being up there, as well as, obviously having a roof that isn't leaking and providing moisture to the equation as well.
Yeah. Oh, you're just, I mean, you're like realtor slash home inspector, like all the things rolled into one.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate in my career to work with a lot of brilliant home inspectors that have graciously taught me so much, and I absorb it, I listen, and I feed that information straight to my clients so that they can be more educated on the biggest transaction of their lives.
Yeah, and that's a huge benefit for buyers, and of course homeowners when they're wanting to sell their properties.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is all a valid point that a home is not just the parts that you love. It really is also what's above your head and what's below your feet. Those are equally important, and it's just another good example of why working with a top realtor and lender in the area to help you walk through that process, it's more important than ever. Reach out to us anytime. We'd love to help you navigate the real estate process, and that's whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate.